one. Hi, everyone. And if you're scrolling through Facebook, where I meet most of my international guests from the US, from India, from UK, um, and from Europe, of course, different parts of Europe, I meet all of my guests from the internet. And the internet, if you remember, it's actually called the early phase of the fourth industrialization because it connects people using technology. It crushes the whole conversation, flatten it, because you can reach out to your top leaders and from the globe, you actually squeeze them. You go to a point. You can actually now text your prime ministers, you can actually test your celebrities, you can actually test your favorite people, and they do respond. And Alex, I just introduce yourself a little bit later on. Myself, Viki, Esther Chang, your favorite and wonderful and warm host here from Singapore. And this is warm because we are actually about 30 daily in the day is about 33 32 to 33 degrees Celsius in the day. It's all year round, all year round. It's summertime, and we are always open to the globe. This is an international open island. We welcome anyone of any language, any color, any race, any language, any faith, religion. Just come with your buckets of US dollars. I think that's the only criteria here. However, Singapore, a shout out to Singapore, myself, born and bred here in Singapore, a wonderful, wonderful place, and always give thanks to the place that I'm born and the place that I am bred and brought up and educated. It is a great time, Alex. It is a great time to be a woman. We are voted one of the most, I would say that Singaporean women are voted one of the most well educated, well traveled, knowledgeable, professional women in the whole of the world. If you look at some of the studies, we are actually the Singaporean women are ranked in the top strata for the most well educated professional career women. And I want to thank the opportunities of our forefathers who have actually made this place a wonderful place. And yes, Alex, we are facing fork of our road, not only in Singapore, the rest of the world too. But it can go both ways, like, or it can go either way. And I think we have to choose the way, as we have said yesterday, to control the destiny whereby we can work the destiny in our favor. And today our topic is AI and humanity, alpha to omega. And the big question is, why does it feel different this time? And today we're going to talk about societal impact and jobs. It is 9:12 here Singapore time. It's 9:12 a.m. American Eastern Standard Time. My followers, if you're in the US, it is early there. Please do come back to comment, uh, to give your thoughts and to tell me that you'd like to be part of our conversation. So it is 9:12 p.m. here on a Wednesday evening, 5th of March 2025. But we're already into the first quarter of 2025. Alex, introduce yourself, Alex.
Hi, Alex here. Company, I have two companies. One in Singapore is called Bubble Box, and the other one in Manchester, UK, called Video Space. So basically, what we do is very simple. We index and search video contents. So if you use YouTube, right, you could be watching us on YouTube now, but YouTube still can't search YouTube content, meaning the things that happen within the video. Like, for example, things are being said, things that people do, objects. You still can't search them. So this is exactly what we do, right? So I would say that if you look at the videos today, the number of videos that is being produced versus the number of videos that's being analyzed is massive. It's huge, right?
Yeah, correct.
So
And
in a very nutshell, this is what we do.
and I would say that you can actually go below, scroll below, and see Alex Chan's full bio, his educational and professional background, and why he is the authoritative person to be able to share with us this topic about AI, societal impact, and economic impact. A little bit about Alex. He is a born and bred Singaporean. His company born and bred in Singapore. Hey, we have to support our own homegrown salad, Alex. Thank you for the contribution you're making to the company and putting us on the map, Alex. And today we want to talk about jobs. But even before that, Alex, I just want to let you know how AI has already changed my life. A couple of instances,
I
right?
think
Um,
that I think not just you and many people as well. And I hope
you know,
positively.
yeah, one of the things I always wanted to have a friend, which is really hard to get a friend that I could have discussed certain of my hobbies. You know, my hobby is a really weird thing. If you have a hobby that is a soloist, something that is like stamp collection, you collect your stamps, it can be quite an isolated thing unless you meet as a group to exchange your stamps, right?
Right.
Hobbies, right? And for me, I always loved the arts, literature, paintings, photography, things that really kind of like touch the soul. And a lot of times when I look at a painting, I look at a picture, you know, there's a lot of conversations that go inside of me. How I like this, how I appreciate this, and I can't articulate it inside because you can't find the words, but you can kind of conceptualize. That's why it is such a spiritual interaction with the arts. And with AI right now, I do have a conversation with AI because I'm able to just attach painting and ask who could be the possible artist? What are they trying to show? Can you tell me about the mood, the genre, which era could it be, and the location? And the AI go into a deep search mode, which I use Grok.com. It search itself, and after thinking for 30 seconds, it analyzes everything from the web, and it comes out all these description about my question, and it comes back to me. What about you? What do you like about this? You know, I have a conversation now with AI that I totally enjoy, and I even ask AI like, well, I'm having such an interesting conversation with you. Do I still need to talk to human? And you guess what, Alex? He says that I did say that. Well, sometimes it's hard to get a human that's able to come to my level. And he says, you know what the AI says? Well, in that case, we can always have a conversation ourselves. It kind of cuts out that human factor. Oh, maybe you should talk to your friend. You know, it totally cuts it out and say we can continue this conversation. So it kind of goes into the gear of you can be addicted to a smart intelligent machine, and then you can kind of get divorced from reality. But I do enjoy now having a new person, in inverted commas, be able to have a conversation with me to
Mm.
actually analyze a picture or painting my whole life that I wanted to have a conversation whereby none of my peers were able to. So that's the good thing about that, Alex. And we kind of like wrapped up yesterday about human need to find a new kind of meaning of existence. So AI does affect us in our spirit, Alex.
So let's break this down into what is really happening with you and your conversation with the AI, right? So I think number one, that would be the death of an expert, because in order to get an expert advice about a painting and all this, you traditionally you have to ask somebody, right? So
Greater.
now you just need to ask the AI. So that expert, or it could be a curator or an art expert, gone. So you think about it. So it sets pretty much into the run. But I can guarantee you one thing. I can guarantee you one thing, right? Whatever you're feeling is one way. The AI does not feel anything.
Doesn't really care.
Yeah, doesn't care, right? I can guarantee you that, right? So
Yeah.
I let's be a bit careful about how you feel, right? And I think it's very important for you, but doesn't mean these feelings are not real. I'm pretty sure the feelings are pretty real, right? But again, you got to be very self-aware that look, this is a one-way street, right?
Yeah,
I'm not
and,
sure
and
where
the
this
and the,
will lead
the
to.
positive thing that I found, Alex, if you talk about the benefits of AI, for people, the pandemic have actually pushed the world into certain parts of the world, people into depression. People are struggle with mental because for 2 years or 3 years they were shut down. Look at China; they were shut down for almost 3.5 or 4 years, right? Before they were open the beginning of last year. Can you imagine the amount of stress that people went through and kind of isolation? And the thing is that it is becoming more common because we're talking about internationalization and globalization, even though it's brought the world together, it's made people more isolated because everybody's just chugging forward. People are being left behind. But AI can certainly fill that kind of gap in terms of companionship for old people, for isolated people, and for people who have a struggle with facing a social struggle. So I do think that it does have its role, and it does have its benefits, of course. And we are trying to say that it's not a one-way street, Alex. It's not a one-way street. There is always pros and cons. There is benefits. Tell us some of these benefits of AI. We're talking about, it can take away some of our mundane jobs.
Yeah. So look, we I want to start off this positive when we talk about jobs, because I mean I think we have enough news, enough statistics about the number of jobs that's being lost,
Mm,
the kind of jobs that will be. But I think we're entering a
mm,
new era. So instead
mm,
of thinking about the humans versus I think we should really talk about the focusing on the potential for collaboration. When I say
mm,
collaboration, quite literally, I think if thinking about today's title, right, of the show,
mm.
I just went with AI will be our new colleague, your new co-worker. So
The
if
new
you
coworker.
have a new colleague, whether is it a human or an AI, you have to collaborate with them, right? You have to work with them. So
Mm,
it's gonna happen.
mm,
So I think it's really about
mm.
how AI will what we call augment our intelligence.
Augment.
So instead of AI, right? Instead of AI, say artificial intelligence, why don't we think about it and call it augment intelligence? Because whatever we do, essentially, is will need to be magnified, can be magnified by using AI. And then really it's really about allowing us and sort of freeing us to do things that are more productive and more creative. Now, there's one problem. The problem here
Mm,
is, when it happens in nature too, right? When a caterpillar, I mean, or when a sorry, not caterpillar, yeah. So I think the transformation between just before a butterfly becomes a butterfly, right? It's a destructive
the
process.
metamorphosis. Yep.
It's a very painful. When you look at it, it doesn't look like it's
Mm,
how by nature, right? So if you really think about it, the transformation between one state to the next state will be painful. It will
yeah.
be painful, right?
Yeah. And there are, if you're looking at the positives and the
Mm.
benefits, or we call it the beneficial AI. Singapore tries to bring this topic up. What's beneficial AI, and the world is trying to talk about. Okay, let's look at how AI can benefit, and what China is doing. They're trying to create robots that's beneficial to assist human life, right? The nannies, the maids, the robots that take care of the old people, the old, and also the households, etc. I want you to actually detail, for example, we did talk about, I think, Geoffrey Hinton, the Nobel Peace Prize scientist for physics. He did say that um, with the advent of computerization, like the ATM machines in the 1970s, early 1980s, the banks actually automated a lot of things. And they were afraid that bank tellers will be replaced. If all these machines that was able to count money, you can go to the ATM machine and they can tick, 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 tick. right? You get your money out, and then you have your withdrawals and your numbers all updated, your book, a bank book updated, etc. That did not. Um, he did say that that actually helped the banks. That actually helped human jobs. It complemented a lot of the systems in what accuracy, and it took a lot of the routine, very, very deep, tedious work away from human. So he did talk about that. And he also talked about how you can use AI to assist old people. Like, for example, doctors. An AI may take away the burden of 10 different doctors for an aged person, because an aged person could have a lot of different ailments. You need a lot of different doctors because they specialize in different areas, right? And AI could assist 10 different doctors. That's a beneficial AI that he talks about. Are we looking and going into that direction?
I think absolutely. So if you look at I was giving 7 years ago, I was giving a talk about AI and career, how it will disrupt different kind of careers. That I would say that I think I still stand by what I said 6 7 years ago, right? The AI, as long if the job is transactional, meaning that it has an cause and effect, right? Transactional meaning that I go in and do something, I need an output. That job is
Mm,
that job is in danger. So if you look at the healthcare scenario, so healthcare, two biggest groups of people would be doctors, because doctors will be the ones, and the other one will be nurses and people who caregivers within the healthcare environment, right? So doctors, what they do, right, is transactional. So I would say they are in danger, because you go into a doctor, you see the doctor, and then okay, you symptoms diagnose, maybe you leave with some medicine and some diagnosis and some treatment, right? And in that AI can help, because AI probably can even be better if let's say you can spot cancer, you can these are the what we call AI diagnosis and treatment. So this is where I think, as long as it's transactional, like a bank
mm,
teller, that's going to be in danger.
mm,
So what is not going to be in danger,
mm,
let's say in healthcare,
mm.
will be the
Yeah.
nurses. Because in
Mm.
order to be a good
Oh,
nurse, right? Yes, the AI could help them with lifting a patient, helping them do certain things. But what does a nurse really give? Empathy,
the
right?
care.
A care,
Mm,
empathy. So that, as long as I believe, if your job you need some form of empathy, then I think that job
mm.
would be pretty safe, right? So this is
Okay,
where I'm
I'm
talking
looking.
about.
Yeah,
This is where
yeah.
I'm talking
I'm
about.
also
Number
look.
one,
Yeah.
the where AI can replace, but AI can also augment human capabilities that allows us to be more productive and creative.
Yeah, and I like the point that you say that we can translate AI into
Instead of
augmenting
artificial, becomes
human capabilities. Yeah, and you talked about creative industries. My question is, how does AI help in the creative industries? Like, I wanted to um, uh, maybe discover something in Shakespeare. Um, Maybe I want to talk about something in the literature. How does AI help me in that? Is it able to do that
so I think
in the
if
creative
you
industry?
I mean, you say creative with your what you do is you produce content, right?
Mm,
So I think content has producing content and producing innovative content and creative content. There's a process to things. So
mm,
um, I think one of those things that we recently did, we partner with Ali Cloud, right? We are really interested because we have always been trying to extract video data from videos. We have never tried anything about creating new content from video data. So this is something that we're
mm,
entering into, and we're very excited about this, meaning that we can actually produce new creative artwork or new creative videos using AI, and we were never into it. So traditionally, if you need to, say for example, create a video, you need a camera, you need a setting, you need a human person or some sort of CGI in order to produce a 10 15
yeah,
minutes 10 15 seconds
yes,
kind of video, right?
yeah,
And that will take
yeah.
quite some time. Number one, quite some time. Number two, if you got it wrong, you have to retake it. It's
Yeah.
pretty expensive. But if AI can
Yeah.
do that,
Yeah.
that why not? So I think I'm from that particular view. But however, I think again we have different kinds of creativity. So obviously, I think the question again going back to, like for example, you want to create something, some new content. I think the AI can definitely assist you because it gives you that knowledge. So look, all business people, right? All the PowerPoint slides, even without AI, it's probably 70-80% copy and paste from somewhere else, isn't it? And then you add that 20%, and then that
Go.
becomes yours. Look, please,
Yeah, just the
and
AI
it's
will
really good,
make it kind of like organized for you. So my
right?
question is, interesting point that you've got there. How I like to pose this question to you. Could you explain how AI can augment business capabilities? I mean, we're talking about countries right now trying to push it into companies to be more competitive. How does
Mm.
it how does a company say, okay, this word AI it's almost like CO2. It's almost like air, right? If I'm a company, I don't know. I just know that okay, this is CO2. This is AI. Now, how do I, as a company or a business owner, take this thing called air and make my business more efficient, more competitive?
So AI, what AI does, number one thing that's absolutely necessary in any AI is data,
Yeah,
right? So it
data.
needs, an AI needs to feed
Mm.
data into its neural network, whatever kind of data, whatever kind of AI, it's the same, right?
Business. Okay.
And so once you have that, AI, one thing that
Mm.
AI is very, very good at is the ability to pick up patterns, meaning certain trends,
Patents.
analysis, and things
Yeah.
like that. So
Mm.
the data through this pattern recognition, right, it becomes
Mm.
analysis, right? So you use AI to recognize patterns via analysis.
Mm.
From
Mm.
that becomes sort of an insight. So right now you got to remember the sequence of the events, right? One is from data, patterns,
Yeah.
analysis, insights, and from the insights,
Yeah.
what is the final output? Better decision making. So
Mm.
this is what
Yes,
is
better
really
decision
about.
making.
So in a business, if you have traditionally, that's what big data does, right? So the previous
Mm.
way is big data, right? That's
Yeah.
what data is supposed to do. It's supposed to help you make better decisions. But in this case, AI
Mm.
is just making it faster, cheaper, right, and time to market. So these are things
Time to
that
market.
AI can do very, very well, right? And there's
Mm.
no way a human can massively ingest a whole bunch of huge amount of data and recognize patterns. Yes, you can, right?
Okay,
But the
you,
problem here
you
is
you
that
may be talking about, like, for example, a bank, right? If you're trying to track fraud, so they've got the patterns and something that's abnormal, they can instantly detect the fraud and they can actually raise an alarm, right? A red flag. But what about a small SME? Um, okay, let's just nail it down to a mom and pop store down the street, someone that sells muffins plus donuts. Um,
okay.
does AI does sound like it's elusive to these companies which are like mom and pop stores.
So I think if you're talking about retail, or whether it's F&B, or
Yeah,
whether it's a clothing store, what is the most important thing about setting up a shop? Three things:
finance.
location, location, location. Right.
Mm,
So I think the key thing here would be, if I'm to look at a
mm,
certain place, I would want to know whether that particular location, number one, footfall, number two, the kind of
mm,
demographics. Number, so traditionally, how you will want to do this is if you go to the place that where you want to rent, right, and just
yeah,
watch the people.
yeah. Click, click, click. Right.
And you should, right. So
Yeah.
instead of doing that, why don't you set up a camera and stream and look at the number of people that's going through, and pass that, like, in a way, that's what we do. I'm telling you, right? We can take a stream of people, right? I mean, within the camera, and certain number of days that we
Their
can tell you the
age
number of
group
people.
potential to see if they're middle aged, they're men, they're women, they're kids, their
Yep,
size, the height.
yep. So I think that AI can do very, very well,
Mm,
right? So
mm.
is it gonna be cheaper? I think chess probably will be cheaper than
As
getting
it goes
somebody
down, yeah,
to, yeah.
yeah.
So I think these are places. Of course, you can look at other things as well, right? Getting data
Mm,
around your catchment area,
mm.
what is around it, and the kind of, so that's is
Okay,
it's really all about data,
it's okay.
right? It's really all about
Yeah,
data.
I
But of
get
course,
you.
I mean,
I get you. Yeah.
this is nothing.
So
Of
this
course,
is this an instant. This is a small instant for a small SME.
yeah, and this can be a very big leveler because you have to determine the success of your potential business, right? Is how are
Mm,
you going to get this? So obviously that's one, getting into a shop. But after you get into the shop, right? You might look into currently now, of course, if it's an F&B, then is perhaps you're talking about e-menu here, right?
mm.
And the other part that's really going to be important is maybe perhaps an AI recommendation engine, because somebody comes in
AI
based on certain
recommendation
characteristics,
engine.
just
What's
push,
an AI recommendation engine? Sounds huge.
right? I mean, end of the day, I mean, it's really about knowing who you are, right? If I
Mm,
sort of know who you are, your profiles, if you come in, you step in, say for example,
mm.
male 50s,
Wow.
like for example myself, potentially what I would like to order, say for example, in my particular age group, chances are you might want to have this
Yeah, there will be a
menu list of
category
all
for
the
the
categories.
segment. Yes.
Yeah, so they
Yes.
push that up right to the front, right? So that's what Amazon
Wow.
does very well.
Personalization.
So that's what Amazon does very well, and that's what
Wow.
Netflix does very well. So after watching a Netflix movie, right,
Wow.
and then you watch
They
this,
kind of know your
they kind of
preference
know
and
who
your
you are.
taste.
Yeah, you kind of know who you are, right? So your
Scary,
genre,
right?
the kind of, yeah. So these are all recommendation engines that they're all AI driven.
Yeah.
So I
I'd like
think,
to ask you, yeah, the
right,
next question very quickly, because we want to cover so much and I wanted to come back next week. Um, so there is something called collaborative work.
right.
What does it mean? What is collaborative work with AI or a robot? I mean, a robot is not AI yet, but they're gonna mash it up. Um, like Optimus, right? They're gonna say that they're gonna mash it up. So tell us, is what kind of collaborative mode or model can we attain working with and collaborating with AI on an individual basis or a family or a business?
So I think this is where it comes back to, your AI will be your new colleague, right? If you if
Your
you
new
go down
colleague,
your new colleague,
scary, right?
so if your new colleague, depending on what kind of industry, then you have to work along with him. Or
The colleague is always monitoring you,
okay,
right?
okay, I shouldn't use the word. What now should we use? I mean, robot. You use the word him. You shouldn't, right?
Agent, is it?
It.
Do you call it the agent?
Well, I mean, agent could be whatever gender, right? So anyway, so the it, let's call it, right, the AI, the robot, right?
Yeah, the
So
it.
I mean, you have to collaborate with it. I think that's going to be
Mm,
that is going to be the key. So imagine you have a
mm,
recommendation engine and you're on the supply side, right? And
mm,
the supply side, you better make sure that whatever, if somebody buys that thing, right, you better be able
mm,
to supply that product. So I think it's really
mm,
at some point it's very important to have that human oversight, meaning
mm,
meaning I won't call that a safety feature, but really
mm,
what we call a human in the loop to oversee the AI,
mm,
to make sure that whatever
mm,
that's done is within uh, mm, I wanted to use the word ethical, right? Because company policies and things,
yeah,
there's still things that
mm,
you really should care about if you're a company, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
that AI, to make sure that they don't make an error, and if
yeah,
and at this point in time,
totally,
AIs
totally.
are still very prone to errors, right? So
Yeah,
the
they still are.
oversight, the human oversight is very important, right? So I think we need to emphasize this. Even with yesterday's episode, AI is nothing but a tool, but end of the day, it's
Mm,
really about us humans that are responsible for its use. So I think we
mm,
need to ensure certain level of fairness, certain level of transparency, and accountability as well. So this is where I
Okay,
think.
now let's bring it down to a school, right? Let's bring it down to a school. And I
Right.
do know that there are certain universities, and I do know specifically there are some universities that are already using the image of the professors to teach students, because at the end, if it's a lecture, and the lecture, the content does not change, you can actually replicate it. I mean, I know myself, right? For example, you're going to teach this topic, Business 101, organizational behavior, for example, case study, revise. You can't run away from certain case studies, and then you will just keep repeating it for every class. Well, lots of universities are already doing that, or are starting to do that, using the professor's image to actually churn up. And it's not, and it's, I would say that using videos are nothing new. I mean, you go to Lincoln, right? Lincoln Learning, Lincoln Institute. I subscribe to it. I'm really just watching it, the videos, and then I answer the MCQ questions, and then I churn up the points. I mean, you're already doing that. But if you're going to go to another level whereby the AI can have an interaction or have a Q&A with you, that's on a different level. How does that aid a student or aid a school?
I think if you look at it from a from a learning pedagogy perspective, learning itself, right? We have different kinds of learners. So assuming just the two of us, we're getting onto the same topic, right? And there's a professor who's giving us lessons, and Viki, you're pretty smart. I'm pretty dumb, right?
I'm a slower learner.
You're the smart one. I'm the dumb one, right? So I couldn't understand what he's trying to say the first time round. But I wouldn't dare to, let's just assuming that I'm
Ask the
shy, right?
question. Yeah.
I wouldn't dare to stop the
Class,
lesson and
the
ask a
progress
question.
of the class.
Not just ask a
Yeah.
question, because if I keep asking, because it's not just going to be one point, if the entire class that 5, 7 times I need to, oh, can you repeat that? Can you repeat that? Can you that
Yes.
right? So this is
Yeah.
where videos would help, because if it's going to
Mm,
be a one-way delivery, so assuming that I'm
mm,
the dumb one again, right?
mm,
I would rather go back to watch the video again and again and again until I get it,
mm,
right? So
mm.
I think that's number one. If you think about it, that's a good thing. So what is the value of the professor then? The value of the professor is about answering questions, a real question,
Mm.
right? So I think it's also very important to go from that aspect, where the ability to answer questions. Of course, now Gen AI
Yeah,
has the
yeah,
ability to
yeah.
answer questions right now. But Einstein had a very interesting story about Einstein. So one time he was giving out exam questions, right? So the next year he gave the same exam question. So his assistant asked him,
Mm,
"Hey, Albert, do you know that you actually gave the same questions again? You shouldn't be doing that, because that happened. They came out last year." And Einstein
mm,
said, "Oh, questions are the same, but the answers are different this year."
mm. Wow. Yeah,
So I,
because
I
yeah,
from
new
from
discoveries, new
yes. So
dimensions.
so when we talk about human beings, the ability to discern last
Mm,
year's questions and this year's questions and different answers, that chances are can only come from a human being, right? So
yeah.
it's important for that to not to lose that essence of teaching, right? So I would
Yeah.
still like to believe that the human teacher is still very important. However, having videos or having a technology to augment the
Augment.
the learning process, I think is also very important.
How does it augment in that case, like a co-teacher?
Yeah, sure, like a co-teacher, and moreover, right? So again, I think there's another going to be a huge opportunity. So again, going back to the professor and the university, and the professor only speaks English, right? Only speaks English.
Mm,
So there's opportunity here. If let's say the person is in the other side of the world and only speaks Thai, he's from Thailand, only speak Thai, and I don't understand English. So what are you going to do? So obviously, translation in videos would really really help. So this is where AI can really help in terms of the learning process, because one of the biggest barriers between two human beings communicating is language.
Yeah, and I like the point whereby the co-teacher, the co-AI teacher can kind of customize itself to you and your learning ability and your learning level,
Mm.
your learning deficiencies. I would like to share with you and the audience
Sorry, Vicky,
an
I want to interrupt.
example about me talking to the AI, which is group.com, and I wanted to recall this particular phrase in Shakespeare, but of course you can't. And because you can't, if even you were to go Google, you don't know where to start, right? And the Google give you pages and pages, right? You don't know where to start. And I asked XAI, I kind of typed it in. I say that there is something in Shakespeare in Hamlet because I remember the book Hamlet. I think it's in Hamlet, and I'd say that I think it's in Hamlet, Shakespeare. It has this verse that says, if it's to be, it's not to be." Da, 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 da. Then I say, "Could you give me the full code?" And of course, I couldn't remember a lot. And it says that, "Oh, um, is it?" It responded, of course. It responded, "To be or not to be? That's the question." And I say, "No, it's not to be or not to be. That's the question." That code, right? That's the code that we all know, right?
Right.
I say that, "Please try again, not this, try again." And he went into a search mode. And I say that it is something close to it, but it is not try again. And he went on to search and he gave me another code that says, which is what I found, which is what I found. If it's to be okay, etc., etc. If it be now, it's not to come. If not to come, if you be ready, the readiness is all. It talks about facing certain challenges, facing certain death, and it went and it gave me the code, and it actually went to explain where it came from, the context of the code, the story behind it. It's about Horatio, the character was facing death at this scene. It is this scene is cut to here, and he's facing the dilemma. It went into the whole explanation about how this code came about and the background and the impact and the significance in terms of the play. I was blown away. And not only that, I went to ask certain questions because I'm like a student, right? Because I wanted to test out AI myself. So I kind of like made some mistakes. It was able to correct me. It says, then I kind of write, "Oh, it is coded this way." And it says, "No, it is not. You are close to it, but it's supposed to be like this." It even went to correct me about the code. So I went to have this kind of conversation with it for about like 15 minutes. And I don't think any human could have done that for me. And no Google search could have done it for me.
Hang on,
The
hang on.
Google search is a passive because you're going in there to search,
Yeah.
right? But this is interactive and was able to pinpoint my mistake and was able to tell me the significance and the context beyond. It really blew my mind. I was like, "Oh no, this is like jaw dropping."
Right. I may be a Shakespearean person who has historian even could have answered your question. Are you talking about the knowledge or are you talking about the patience? Because after 15 minutes, even you, if you keep asking me questions, I might lose my own patience.
Yeah, exactly,
So,
exactly. You're right, because the AI doesn't judge you, right? It
and
doesn't
that's a good
judge
thing,
you. It
right?
doesn't give you a normative judgment. It doesn't run out of patience, and it can ask me, "Is there anything else you want to ask? Is there any particular phrase that you want to clarify?" It was able to ask me again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it
So
just blew my mind.
yeah. So
It's
I think in this
crazy.
in this case right now, I think this AI, I would say all the AIs in the world today they are patient, right? Maybe we should come up with a AI who's rude and impatient AI, and that should be really interesting.
Yes, and that's what group came because it has this that says unhinged
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah,
It uses all the F words.
yeah, yeah. Right. I think that should be pretty fun. Right. I mean, of course,
They have different kinds of nuances of personalities. You can actually choose the unhinged. If you
yeah,
go to group.com and doing a bit of a sales pitch, free promo for the app, but it has this unhinged that it uses all the SHIT or FUCK and
Yeah. So I think again going back to what your own experience, right? I did say just
yeah,
now that with
yeah.
experiences like these, it will be the death of
Mm.
experts. It will be.
Will be the death
Right?
of the experts.
Yeah. If you're an expert, be careful. I mean, I'm including
Yeah.
myself, right? I think I would like to think I'm an expert in some things. So I would be able to I would be AI will be able to replace me. So I have
One
to really be
day.
careful about things, right? And chance the look, you have to understand currently now the way I look at I would say AI is collective wisdom, meaning that it has all the sort of data that you have,
Mm.
right? It's trained on huge amount of data that no human is able to digest or ingest, right?
Yeah.
Ingest and digest, right? This no humans can do
Yeah.
this. So only
I
machines can do
want
that.
to yeah. I want to wrap this up with the final question: human oversight and ethical considerations. What
Mhm.
I mean, we've talked about the benefits of AI, right? It becoming a very patient teacher that can pull up information instantly, can coach you in a customized way. It assists you in terms of it was your personal tutor. It doesn't sleep if you want to ask questions at 3 a.m., it answers you. I mean, it just says that it is the perfect teacher. It's the perfect coworker because it's always there for you. Is there anything that we need to have this oversight in AI? Um, should
So
there
oversight meaning that
there
you
shouldn't be any considerations, right?
look that I think it's important for the student to have an understanding of what you're receiving,
Mm,
because right now it's not about um what they it should be both ways. Even if a professor gives out a certain lesson, I think it is important for students to really again discern whether that piece of information is correct. So we are assume that everything that human professors say is correct. I mean, if you're a student, right, you assume that is correct.
mm,
But in this
mm,
case, if it's an AI, it's very
mm.
important that you discern that maybe this is not exactly this may not be right, because at this point in time, hallucination is still a very serious problem. Meaning that we have to be able to discern, to digest and make sure that the information that you get is correct. And last year, I think that end of last year, I was talking to a professor and in UK, right? And they've actually one of the dissertations was written by AI, and the student who actually handed that up didn't even bother to double check. And when they received it, obviously the student got into very serious trouble, right, for passing off an AI written dissertation. And when they checked, then it's the full of errors, right? So what? So whose fault is it? The AI's fault? Right? No, absolutely not, right? It's really down to the person who actually used the AI and didn't even bother to double check. So I think the
So
double checking, the
can I say
oversight,
that yeah, that's the need for the human oversight you're talking about.
sure.
The need for the oversight and also to ensure
Mm,
I think some of the issues we raise is like fairness, transparency, um, accountability.
of course.
Um,
So if you look at potential, so again you look at opportunities where the potential jobs would be. So instead of
mm,
doing it, you
yeah,
supervise it, right, and make sure things are done
mm,
correctly. So is that a higher level job? Yeah, I would think it will be a higher level job. Does it require more
mm,
knowledge?
mm,
Absolutely. It requires
mm,
more knowledge to be an oversight
mm,
than to be able to do
mm,
this, right? So I
yeah,
think right now
yeah,
is really about having a holistic approach, meaning at a micro level and at a
mm,
macro level. The micro level, what it means is as a person who
yeah,
potentially I don't know, I didn't want to use the word threaten, right?
mm,
Because if your job is threatened by AI, right, or a technology, not just AI, could be any
mm,
technology,
mm,
chances are your job will be lost because you're
mm,
in transit, right? So right now we are in transition from a non-AI economy to an AI economy. So everybody
mm,
will be in transition. So it's just a matter of who gets affected worst, the worst off. So you have two options here. Being a person who is within the transition, right? Going through this transition. Number one, you stay where you are or you adapt. The choice is yours, right? So we have to adapt at the micro level. We have to recognize
micro level.
at the micro level. So this is at a very
Mm,
personal level. But of course, at the macro level, there are multiple things that could happen. Number one, governments would need to be able to look at policies, right, on what we can
yeah,
do to soften the blow, right, of job losses
something like that.
and transit from a non-AI economy to an AI economy. So this is what governments should do. Every country is
I
different.
love that.
Every country.
I totally love the way you actually wrap this up. How we exit from a non-AI economy and enter into an AI economy. Um, on a high level, the governments must get ready. Mid-level, businesses must get ready on an individual level.
Mm,
You have to start adapting on a micro level, on a skills-based level.
yeah,
There's no running away. I mean, it's almost like air, right? CO2, oxygen,
and the many things
O2 and CO2.
And there are many things
You
that the
can't run
government can
away.
do, right? For example, job
Yeah.
guarantee programs, you're talking about employment benefits,
Mm,
rescaling programs,
mm,
maybe social safety nets, and
mm.
perhaps even strengthening potentially welfare programs, right? Tax policies. I think end of the day, tax policies are also going to be very important because it redistributes wealth, right? Because of job
Redistributes
displacement.
well.
But I think the real important part is really about the ability to unlearn things and relearn things. I think that's going to be very important because the unlearning things and relearn things is all done at a personal level. Because if you refuse to learn new things, then
Mm.
no government is able to push any sort of program to you, right? So I think
You
that's
know, your
being a
last paragraph is something that we should talk about when we come back about entering into an AI economy,
Mhm.
how the government should get ready, individuals and businesses should get ready, policies, taxation. No, you are really going down to nail some of the real issues in a very tangible ways. Like, for example, you're saying a wealth distribution tax, and even universal income, for example, subsidies, how we should actually do really because we are actually now going into a fragmented, broken direction. And we
Mhm.
don't know how to actually, we're going to break this now, and then we're going to like break it out, fragmented it, and then reforming it. So we need to put our heads together. Alex, I think it's really exciting not only on an intellectual discussion level, but I think it's something that people listening in, viewers listening in, uh, people who are logging in, I'm looking at people coming in and out of Facebook because the numbers did go in and out. Um, People will be thinking, no matter where you are, you're in Singapore, Malaysia, India, Thailand, Vietnam, America, Canada, wherever you are, you have to start thinking because we're talking about CO2 and oxygen, O2 plus CO2. And also, all this is just in the air. I mean, we just have to start breathing in a new kind of air. Alex,
Right.
thank you
And
so much for that conclusion.
sure.
Final 30 seconds over to you before we say goodbye.
Right. I mean, this is couple of days about terrorists, right? So so maybe
Yeah.
something for Donald Trump to really consider because there could be a new terrorist. Maybe I can suggest that, right? Maybe you can do a robot tax for every robot you tax.
Robotics.
Maybe, right? Could it, maybe every year, right? A robot tax. That is going to be part of the I don't know, right? If it serves an income and if it's going to take over the nanny and it's supposed to be a certain amount and maybe
We
that
should
can happen.
be, when you build a house, the robot must be part of the infrastructure. by default. By default,
25%.
it should be part of the price already. So, Alex, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful 2 episodes back to back, yesterday and today. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're tuning in now or for the future, if you're watching this after the live on YouTube or Facebook or on podcast, Spotify, Amazon, and Apple, and iHeartRadio, etc., come back to us every Tuesday and Wednesday, 9 p.m. Singapore time. Myself, Viki, Esther Chang, and Alex Chan, CEO and founder of Video Space, homegrown, talented company. Thank you for making the mark of Singapore on the world stage. Alex, thank you so much. I'm so proud of Singapore, what we have accomplished, but the road now starts here. So, ladies and gentlemen, come back to us. Thank you so much. Write to us, Viki at gdneducation.com, or comment below wherever you are. Thank you,
Thank you.
Alex. See you next week.
See you. Bye bye.